All right. Episode 1, reflections. I'm feeling like quite awkward, and this feels quite weird to do because I'm trying not to edit this and do lots of different takes and speak quite freely about something that I've been thinking about in the week. I think a few episodes in, hopefully it becomes a bit more natural. Just talking to a camera itself is quite quite a weird experience. But the idea really of this whole process is to help me understand my thoughts better, understand some of the things I'm naturally thinking about anyway, and share it and reflect, I guess, on it. The thing that in the last 7 days that I've been really thinking about, which I thought would make a first episode or a first reflection quite interesting, is this concept of surrender, but surrendering to your own abilities. I found that the more techniques I learned and the more you observe your mind, like it becomes quite obvious when you're not present and you notice, oh, I'm not actually in the moment, and I'm like, what technique should I use to bring me back into the moment? Like it's this constant chasing of, like, just chasing of technique, chasing of the moment. And I don't know, I found myself starting to like hold the present moment quite tightly, which is really weird. In a way, I think the more I thought about it, and the more I have thought about it, the more I've learned different techniques. I almost had this like toolkit of like different techniques I could just tap into and be like, all right, what's going to be the right one now? Is it bring attention to my feet? Is it broaden my awareness? Is it just pay attention to my breath? And I remember like that in itself was just this weird kind of swirl of thoughts and thinking around, oh yeah, like I notice I'm not in the moment, but how do I get myself back there quickly? And it kind of, I find that there's like really famous thinkers in the present moment, philosophers, people online, and they kind of make the present moment feel like the goal of life, and that sort of any mind wandering is bad or like unnatural. And I think that's quite unhealthy, like some of this early narrative. Like for me, I know it made me become like obsessed with like, oh, when I realized I wasn't like as present as I could be in the day, I really wanted to like, at one point I was like, the goal of my whole life is to be in the present moment as much as possible. And I understand where I was coming from, but I feel like it just felt like this weird, like obsessive chase, which is kind of not really in line with a lot of our biology. And the more I've learned about why our minds are this way, the more I've figured out, hey, like mind wandering and just having thoughts about things that you're not doing is okay. And actually there's going to be moments where it's probably healthy for your mind to wander and not to treat it as this enemy, but not to be also unconsciously like lost into it. And that's been really nice. Actually, this past week, like I had 1 or 2 days where I was working from this co-working space, and I remember just saying to myself, okay, I've done my morning practice, but in this moment, all I'm going to do is just surrender to the moment. And not surrender in the sense of like give up, more like just let today be what it's going to be, you know? And that was beautiful. Like I had really like productive days, very relaxed days, did work well. I felt like I was less tired maybe by the end of the day, or I felt like I was like quite contradictory. Is that the right word? Contradictorily. It was a contradiction because I think actually easing and allowing myself to just let go allowed me to sink deeper into the moment and not actually have my mind clawing to like try and find a technique to get me there. And I was like riffing with AI, and I was like trying to understand this experience, and it gave me a really nice line, and the line was, if in the moment you realize that you're lost or your mind's wandering, do you feel like you can bring yourself back into the moment? And a question to ask yourself is, or the question I asked myself was, am I comfortable with this mind wandering? Like if I've got a thought suddenly coming on, before I'd be like, oh no, my mind's wandered, tighten around it. Whereas the question I've really been asking myself this week is, am I comfortable with this? And oftentimes it's actually like, yeah, this is fine, because it's not only am I comfortable, it's am I comfortable and do I have the tools? Do I feel like in any moment I can be like, bring a bit of attention to my feet, bring a bit of attention to my body, or like broaden my eyesight, use sound as an anchor, use any different anchor to settle me down. And a lot of the times it was like yes, because my practice is at a point now where I've done it consistently for a little while. And that was really empowering, because it was like not just, oh, this is my practice and the mind is my enemy. It was like, hey, let the mind do what it wants, and check in on myself as if you might check in on a friend, being like, hey, are you all right with this? And in one or two moments where I noticed my mind was spiraling in probably a not helpful way, in those moments, these techniques are really powerful, because I was able to then be like, I'm actually not okay with this at this moment. I can feel my mind doing all sorts of craziness, and then the techniques are useful. You don't need to I'm learning that you don't need to hold on to the moment tightly with techniques for the whole day. I just get a bit tired, to be honest. So yeah, I think it's really like a fascinating evolution in my own practice, at least, and has allowed me to enjoy some of the moments of the past few days a little bit better than I would have otherwise. And I think there's so much more to explore here. This fine balance between surrender and effort, like learning the techniques, like getting some sort of foundation with them through like a morning practice, an afternoon practice, but then also trusting yourself to essentially like judge throughout the day when the mind is fine to wander. And often, yeah, the more I learn about it, the more like I learn creative ideas come out of mind wandering. Sometimes even like a bit of a protective thought might come up, and that's okay if it's not spiraling and winding me away. So yeah, figuring out this balance of knowing techniques and using techniques, and also not being completely not holding the present moment tightly and surrendering, I guess. So yeah, that's what's on my mind this week. We'll check back in next week for episode 2. Ciao. Whew.